Hello again. Today marks the 85th anniversary of the start of the Battle of Britain. Two-thirds of people under the age of 40 in this country have no idea at all what the Battle of Britain even was, because many schools simply do not teach about it. I give a link to this particular statistic in the description to this video. This is rather a pity, I think. I thought that I would talk this afternoon about one aspect of the Battle of Britain, which even those who do know about this crucial event in British history may be unaware of. This is the social class nationality of the pilots who fought the Germans for mastery of the skies above this country in 1940. Once Austria and half of Czechoslovakia had been absorbed by Germany by annexation and expansionism, Hitler's eyes turned east towards Poland. Before the First World War, much of what was in 1939 called Poland had been an integral part of Germany. I'm sure that some viewers will know about Danzig and the Danzig Corridor and so on. That's the present-day Polish city of Gdansk. Britain and France had promised to defend Poland against any aggression. And when Germany attacked and invaded Poland with the intention of regaining what they saw as part of Germany on the 1st of September 1939, both Britain and France declared war on Germany. The Second World War had begun. There followed the period known as the Phony War, when, despite a state of war supposedly existing between Britain and Germany, nothing much seemed to happen. This came to an abrupt end in April 1940 with the German invasion of Denmark and Norway. The following month, Holland and Belgium were also invaded, and an attack launched on France. The British Army went to the aid of France and were defeated, forced into an ignominious retreat from the coastal town of Dunkirk. On the 18th of June 1940, 4 days before the French signed the armistice, Winston Churchill gave a famous speech in which he explicitly stated that the people in Britain were standing alone and that they were all that stood between Hitler and world domination. This speech, in which the phrase "this was their finest hour" was used, consciously calls upon various images which are likely to resonate with the people in Britain. There is the image of Britain as a nation which will sort out Europe's problems for it and stand up for fair play. He said, "We abate nothing of our just demands. Czechs, Poles, Norwegians, Dutch, Belgians, all who have joined their causes to our own shall be restored." There is also the claim that Britain was the only nation which can save Christian civilization and, by implication, democracy and the rule of law. He said, "The Battle of Britain is about to begin. Upon this battle depends the survival of Christian civilization. Upon it depends our own British life." In August, the German Air Force began attacking military targets in Britain. On September the 15th, the battle for control of British airspace reached a climax. It is popularly supposed that in the Battle of Britain, a small group of British RAF officers, most of them public school types, engaged in dogfights over the skies of southern England against the much greater force of German aircraft who were trying to establish air superiority above the English Channel, with a view to having air control so that the seaborne invasion could start. It's only natural that in our imagination the RAF pilots of 1940 should be British officers. Some were, roughly half were not. Thinking first of the notion that the pilots were British, We find to our surprise that of the RAF pilots who fought in the Battle of Britain between July and October 1940, about a fifth were not born in this country. The RAF's Roll of Honour lists 2,353 British pilots during that period, along with 574 who were not British. These include over 140 Poles, 85 or so Czechs, along with Belgians, French, Australians, and various other nationalities. These men boosted the number of pilots at that crucial time and helped win Britain's first major battle of the Second World War. The contribution of foreign-born pilots to the defence of Britain was no nominal or symbolic one. During the Battle of Britain, only 2 men managed to notch up a total of 16 kills. One of these men was English, and the other a Czech called Josef František. Among those who were pilots during the Battle of Britain, the one who went on to gain the highest number of kills during the rest of the war was a South African called Adolphus Malan, who brought down 32 German planes in total. Without such men as these, the outlook for the RAF would have been somewhat bleaker. As for all those RAF officers flying the fighters during the Battle of Britain, roughly a third of them were nothing of the sort. They were sergeant or flight sergeants. The idea of working class fighter pilots at that time is a strange one to us, but it is certainly the case that when we take away the foreigners and NCOs, we find that only about half the pilots during the Battle of Britain were really British officers. A few were the product of public schools, but most were not. Some viewers might be surprised to hear that only half the pilots flying all those Spitfires and Hurricanes were British RAF officers, but there it is. Working class NCOs made up, as I say, a third of the pilots. I have long known this because my own family is horribly working class, being made up of blacksmiths, draymen, and bus drivers. And yet my own father was a glider pilot, although he never held a rank higher than staff sergeant. That generation above us represents the peak of achievement of British manhood, and the Battle of Britain was the high point of heroism. I doubt we are ever likely to see British men achieve such levels again. So I think it's worthwhile pausing just for a moment on today, Battle of Britain Day, and remembering those men and what they did for this country.